Protesters stormed the stage over Johns Hopkins University's private police plans.
It's fears that you would fear of any police force, which is unequal treatment, racism.
How the school pushes back on those concerns and why it says a police department is needed. After E. coli is found in city water, how Fox 45 News restored peace of mind to a concerned community that did not trust Baltimore's all clear. Police link a body found in a burning car in Baltimore to a stabbing and abduction near Arundel Mills Mall. How they cracked the case.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
I'm Mary Bubala. Our top story tonight, a community meeting about the proposed Johns Hopkins Police Department is forced online after protesters caused chaos.
JHU first tried to form a campus police department in 2020, but the plan was shelved after nationwide protests following George Floyd's death. Now they're moving forward with that plan.
And despite the new protests tonight, some think the department could help reduce crime in Baltimore by taking some pressure off the Baltimore Police Department. Fox 45 Jeff Abel has a closer look.
Well, administrators had already drafted their plan for a police force and had prepared to present it to the community tonight. But not everyone was prepared to listen. On the Johns Hopkins campus tonight, the school opened its doors for a town hall meeting. But not everyone in town was interested in meeting. This was supposed to be the first of 3 public meetings where administrators were prepared to lay out their plans for a private police force. But protesters who have long opposed the measure chanted and crowded the stage, demanding the school drop its plans for a police force with full police powers.
It's fears that you would fear of any police force, which is unequal treatment, racism, and things like that, police brutality.
The school has already hired 1,000 unarmed guards to patrol the campus around the clock, but administrators began pressing for a fully sworn police force more than 3 years ago.
Shame on you!
They won approval from the legislature, but the community has been a far tougher sell.
I don't like it. I feel like there's not been a 100% successful police force, a force that is totally just and good.
The Baltimore police force seems a little overwhelmed and understaffed, so I think it's probably a reasonable effort to increase public safety.
Bob Garnett joined dozens of other people who came to campus tonight seeking more information. Instead, they witnessed confrontation.
I don't like the idea of shutting out the effort for me to get some information from those who know about it.
No justice!
Despite the protest, administrators attempted to begin the meeting, but eventually left the stage. Outside, the man who is set to oversee the new police force had a trail of chanting protesters following him to the edge of campus.
It's disappointing that, few individuals interfere with the opportunity for a valuable community conversation.
The school managed to continue the meeting online and has scheduled 2 more meetings next week. If Hopkins is finally successful, city police predict their force will have little impact on the city police department because city officers will still be assisting in investigating Hopkins crimes. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
And to address concerns of racial inequity and mental health, Hopkins previously responded by scaling back the scope of the force and investing in other public safety initiatives, including adding a behavioral health component.
The Johns Hopkins Police Department is being formed as Baltimore police face a severe officer shortage, difficulty recruiting, and also high crime. Now, the president of the police union in Baltimore told Fox 45 News that the city wasn't prepared to deal with big events when the Maryland Cycling Classic was in town earlier this month. He says officers were forced to work overtime with little or no notice and had time off canceled. Officers are now working overtime to watch squeegee kids in Baltimore. And Police Commissioner Michael Harrison says that plan is not sustainable.
It is not sustainable because our manpower doesn't allow us to do that, because there's so many other serious things that we have to respond to and that we have to be in places to prevent. And so we can't sustain this indefinitely.
Last week, police confirmed to Fox 45 News there is no end date for the added patrols.
Renewed concern tonight about kids and crime after an attempted robbery at gunpoint at Barks Animal Shelter. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost taking a closer look at those concerns.
Some critics would say not enough is being done. We know, according to the Baltimore Police Incident Report, that 2 children are apparently involved in this attempted armed robbery of a Barks employee. And this is just the latest example of Baltimore's youngest residents getting involved in crime. A rainy reopening for the Baltimore Animal Rescue and Care Shelter. Barks back open for adoptions, but with an added layer of security. An incident report from the Baltimore police says kids as young as 11 years old are the ones who tried to rob an animal shelter employee at gunpoint. So far, no arrests have been made. But these kids, just the latest in a growing, troubling trend: youth violence, children being victims or perpetrators in the city's crime crisis. A 15-year-old squeegee kid charged with killing 48-year-old Timothy Reynolds at the intersection of Light and Conway Streets in July. A month later, a 9-year-old gunned down a 15-year-old girl at her own home. That 9-year-old too young to face charges in Maryland due to the new laws enacted this year.
The juvenile justice system in Maryland right now is severely broken.
Sean Kennedy from the Maryland Public Policy Institute says the uptick in crime among teens and sometimes younger shows the reason why the public needs to know what's going on inside the juvenile court system.
The public is basically in the dark about what's going on.
In Annapolis last year, a sweeping juvenile justice package soared through the General Assembly. Led by Baltimore City Senator Jill Carter, the plan: kids under 10 cannot be charged with a crime at all. After the 15-year-old was killed, Carter says she stands by her legislation, writing in a statement the plan is based on best practices, adding, quote, nothing in the law would prevent a 9-year-old child alleged to have committed a heinous act from receiving developmentally appropriate intervention or rehabilitation programs, services, and treatment. But Baltimore City Delegate Dalia Attar backed a different bill to shine some light on the juvenile system.
Delving deep into that information.
Her bill would have created a database of all crimes involving kids for the public while still shielding their names. The legislation getting support from the police department and city councilman Isaac Yitzi Schleifer.
When it comes to the non-transparent juvenile system, we have no idea what happens other than that we see the same violent juveniles are reoffending.
The bill stalling in committee, failing to get enough traction to bring information into the public's view. Attar used to work in a juvenile detention center, and she has seen firsthand the importance of implementing consequences.
Where we had juveniles that would start off with a minor crime, and once they're in the system, they'd come back for something else that's even worse and worse. And then unfortunately, many of these juveniles end up becoming adults and committing crimes as well.
According to data from BPD, 10 kids under the age of 18 have been charged with murder this year alone.
Clearly, the focus in the leadership of the city and really in the leadership of the state and the General Assembly has been sort of some of the softer approaches that are consistent with, again, juvenile delinquency, not with, hardcore violent crimes, which is really what we're talking about here. Street robberies, carjackings, shootings, and murders.
Jason Johnson, former deputy BPD commissioner, says all arms of government need to work together to ensure accountability becomes reality.
If we arrest kids, 15, 16-year-olds, for committing a robbery or a carjacking, for example, and they're right back out on the street, they're going to commit more. I mean, we see it happen all the time. So there really does need to be some real accountability.
From an Inner Harbor homicide where a 15-year-old was arrested to a high school parking lot where a 17-year-old football player was killed after school and another 17-year-old faces charges for his death. And now, kids under 14 apparently trying to rob an animal shelter employee. While leaders mull how to handle the youth violence, it's not stopping. I reached out to Delegate Attar to see if she has any plans to reintroduce that piece of legislation in Annapolis when lawmakers return next year, but I didn't hear back. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Should there be more transparency regarding juveniles who commit crimes? So far, 95% of those who voted say yes. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to make your voice heard.
The search is on right now for a killer after a body was discovered in a burning car in Baltimore City. Police say this all started with an abduction miles away near Arundel Mills Mall. That's where Rio Creighton picks up the story and what one witness saw helping police overnight.
It is a very busy upscale development attached to a hotel. There are restaurants. It was inside of a parking garage last night that a woman reported seeing a man being stabbed. Baltimore's Leakin Park. Officers respond to a call of a car on fire. Inside the trunk, a man found dead. It's not long before investigators connect the dots to this scene, some 30 minutes away in Hanover, the day before the 911 call that came from here. Arundel Mills Preserve, a hotel, restaurants, residences. Around 9 p.m., a woman describing what she witnessed inside this parking garage. A man stabbing another man, a second suspect who then pulls a gun and forces him to the back of the car before it speeds away. Investigators scouring this scene into the night turn up nothing. A day later, detectives say the body discovered in Baltimore is the same victim abducted in Hanover.
No, never. I've never.
Residents in this upscale neighborhood in disbelief. Homicide is happening here.
I've never had carjacking or nothing like that in these areas. Yeah, I'm very, very scared.
Reportedly, police believe the victim, who has yet to be identified, was targeted. Police say this is very much an active, ongoing investigation. They're asking for anyone with additional information to come forward. Tips, go to Baltimore City Police or Anne Arundel County Police. They are working together on this case. Reporting in Hanover, Rio Creighton, Fox 45 News.
Temperatures running about 5 to 15 degrees colder than they were same time last night. Feels like a different season. Well, actually, it is a different season. We entered autumn at 9:04 this evening. Temperatures going to be the coldest that they've been tomorrow morning since May 11th. Back down into the 40s in the outlying areas, near 50 here in Baltimore. But we do have a warm up on the way. I'm going to let you know when that comes and when rain could fall on your weekend plans. Up my Weather Authority forecast in just a couple of minutes.
An hours-long standoff ends with the arrest of a man wanted for attempted murder. Tonight, police identify that man as somebody Fox 45 News featured in our Maryland's Most Wanted segment. Alexa Ashwell has the tip that led agents to him.
Investigators say a viewer recognized Ricardo Cure Jr. on Maryland's Most Wanted and led agents to a home in Cherry Hill where he had been staying. This leading to a more than 2-hour-long standoff with police. Cure was eventually arrested after officials say he attempted to escape out of a back door. The fugitive is accused of stabbing a coworker following an argument in Canton's industrial district back in April. He's now in custody and facing attempted murder charges. Now the search is on for this man, wanted on rape charges. The connection, investigators say, to an attempted human trafficking case. That's tonight on Maryland's Most Wanted.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10, after the E. coli outbreak in city water sources, some West Baltimore residents are hesitant. How Fox 45 is helping alleviate those concerns with independent water testing. Plus, a dead rat in a Baltimore health clinic sat for 18 months. What the mayor is saying about the IG report and praise he gave to cleanup crews.
He's never going back to Baltimore City Public Schools.
The final straw for a father, his son badly hurt in a fight, and a solution offered, he says, is not good or safe enough.
Fox 45 News is demanding answers about unsanitary conditions at a Baltimore health clinic. Pictures taken 18 months show it appears to be the same dead rat inside Druid Sexual Health Clinic. The Inspector General investigated complaints of unsanitary conditions in 2020, and a new report reveals the clinic didn't make the changes the IG laid out in the initial report. Mayor Brandon Scott addressed the issue on WBAL radio this morning.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And yeah. And that also makes until they get these things mitigated, right?
Yes, right.
We have that problem with places over and over again, what we call frequent flyers, which is why this has the attention that it has. What I'll say is that they did work, right? But that when you're talking about a building that is in that condition, and you know how long it's been in a condition like that, C4, we know that a lot of that is going to be a deep, deep work that has to happen. It's going to take a long time.
45 News questioned the health department about the clinic. It responded in a statement saying it's working to fix the problems as best it can.
It has been about 2 weeks since Baltimore City leaders declared an E. coli water contamination over, but they still have not revealed the source of the bacteria, saying it's under investigation.
The all clear still left some residents skeptical, so Fox 45 News took matters into our hands, conducting an independent test on the drinking water. Keith Daniels has more on what we found.
Well, that contaminated water scare in West Baltimore drained the confidence of many residents in that area, some of them unsure about the safety and quality of the water in their homes, particularly for one woman who was shaken. And so we tried to give her some peace of mind. And tonight, the results. For Denise Knight, it all began with an announcement from Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott. The no boil advisory lifted.
We have found no further evidence of contamination.
With the announcement September 9th, the water in homes cleared for use after the E. coli water contamination scare over Labor Day weekend in the Sandtown, Winchester, and Harlem Park neighborhoods. But just days after the all clear, Knight, like many other residents in Harlem Park, still skeptical, not accepting what the mayor had said.
I'm not drinking the water yet.
The 64-year-old woman proclaiming from her upstairs window her tentative use of the tap, even inviting the mayor to prove the water is safe.
I would like for the mayor to drink this water. And if he like, he can come over and have a glass of water with me.
We took Knight's challenge to the mayor, but through his spokeswoman declined, saying in part, Mayor Scott will not engage in any stunts or theatrics. But now, Knight may get the peace of mind she needs. Fox 45 reached out to several Maryland Department of Environment approved testing labs to test Knight's water. Fountain Valley Analytical Lab and the Atlantic Blue Water Services, who submits samples to the MDE approved lab, Water Testing Labs of Maryland, selected for the job. Our cameras documented their sample gathering.
All right, I'm all finished.
24 hours later.
I'm hoping that my gut is wrong and the mayor is right.
The test results. Knight wanted to hear the findings by phone.
Well, I have the results. Okay.
The results passing. You have no presence, according to these tests, of E. coli or any other harmful bacteria in your water. What's your reaction to that?
Hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you.
The results in this particular case is less than 1.0, most probable number of bacteria per 100 milliliters, or a passing test.
Think of a bacteria, it can grow, right? So when it goes to the lab, they put in food to the water for the bacteria to grow. And no bacteria grew when you put the food in there. So that's how you can determine whether it's there or it's not.
And in Knight's case, it's not there.
I'm feeling a great relief that there's no E. coli or anything else in my water line. So, good job. Let's just keep on top of this so we won't have to do this again.
Some relief for Knight. Meantime, we reached out to the mayor's office for comment, but we have not heard back. Reporting tonight, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Parents and students in Virginia are making their voices heard on a proposed policy surrounding sexually explicit books. What has some parents upset? Coming up in 3 minutes.
Plus, lawmakers getting involved in school libraries, what they have to say about what kids are reading.
And we are tracking the next weather maker that could give us some rain into the weekend. Friday, Saturday, dry days, but by Sunday, that's where we're going to forward our future scan to. We could see some showers. Let's take a close-up look. Timing it out by about 11 a.m. through the early afternoon. The showers do begin to move in. And you can see here again a chilly day for tomorrow, 74 on Saturday, near 80 though on Sunday for Ravens parties. Could see a shower during the afternoon. We're going to time that out hour by hour. We've got your full foliage forecast in a couple of minutes and your 7-day. Stick around.
A live look at Capitol Hill, where top Democrats in Congress are speaking out against the growing number of bans on books in school libraries. New resolutions in the House and Senate call on local governments to protect the rights of students to learn, according to Politico. Well, the American Library Association reported more than 1,500 unique book titles are targeted, most addressing gender identity and race. Advocates say efforts to ban or restrict certain books are on track to break records this year. Some Republicans and conservative groups argue the books contain pornographic material. Democrats argue banning books violates First Amendment rights.
What books are too explicit for school libraries? That question has many parents and students at odds tonight in Loudoun County, Virginia, as the clock is winding down for the district to meet state guidelines.
Carl Willis with our Sinclair sister station in D.C. reports parents took passionate arguments before their school curriculum decision makers.
Just give me the courtesy of freaking listening to me. We're not going away.
But what might be going away are some of the books in Loudoun County Public Schools, now that the district has drafted policy 5055 to align with the Virginia Department of Education. It deals with how to notify parents anytime sexually explicit content will be used in schools.
It kind of seems just to be like riding this wave of parents wanting to ban more material, especially material that involves any kind of queerness or any things related to gender outside of the cis binary.
The proposed policy would allow parents to review material in question and request schools provide alternative material without punishment if they decide to opt their children out of a lesson.
We're not here to ban books. Please hear me. I love literacy. Why do we need to talk about sexual excitement, coprophilia, urophilia, fetishism? Why does that belong in the public school environment? Why can't we talk about academics again?
There are thousands more that would need to be filtered, and all with that January 1st deadline looming.
As staff presented tonight, there could definitely be some additional resources or staffing that's necessary to try and make it happen.
The school board offered examples of books identified as containing sexually explicit content. Among them, classics like The Odyssey, 1984, and Handmaid's Tale. The banning of such works is concerning to many.
I can definitely understand the worry. It could potentially cast a very wide net. I'm definitely concerned about that and looking for ways to try and mitigate it so that we're not engaging in unnecessary censorship.
I think that's a ruse. These are obviously classics that have been around forever. We're not talking about those books. We're talking about the books that glorify sex work.
As it stands now, the policy also states that schools would have to provide written notice to parents 30 days prior to use of any material in question.
Well, these are just the first steps in the process. The policy now goes to an advisory committee for review, and then they will lean on community groups and parents for input.
He's never going back to Baltimore City Public Schools.
The parent of a Baltimore City school student outraged. What happened to his child that has him saying he'll never send his son back to school again?
Fox 45 News is demanding answers for a Baltimore County mother who says her son was hit by a car. Why she's blaming the school system. Those stories and more when we come back in 2 minutes.
Well, we're about a month into the school year, and parents are voicing concern not only over their kids' safety in the classroom, but also their safety just getting to school.
That's right. A mother says her 10-year-old son was hit by a car just crossing the street leaving school. Coming up, Rebecca Pryor reports on that mother's solution to the problem.
But we begin with the story you're seeing first on Fox. A Baltimore City